Welcome to Ulcerative Colitis Autoimmune Healing Journey. I am your journey guide, Jay India, and I'm so happy that you are here because this is a supportive, positive environment where we can heal together. Please note, I am not a doctor or a health professional in any way. If you would like to attempt something mentioned in this episode, please consult your doctor or mental health professional first. I am pretty psyched to give you a guest that you have been asking for. Dane Johnson. He is the badass creator and CEO of Crohn's Colitis Lifestyle, which is personalized natural healing for Crohn's and UC. He is here to tell us his story first. We're going to get to know him a little bit. And then we're going to delve into those advanced topics of UC that affect you as a listener. In episode 32, I talked about my discovery call, which was very successful with Crohn's Colitis Lifestyle, and I gave my review. So Dane is here to discuss these advanced topics of UC, which will be more of the last 3/4 to half of the episode. So let's get to know him first. Welcome, Dane.
Thank you so much, Jay India, for having me. And I first want to dedicate this conversation to anyone out there who is struggling. You and your families, I know what it's like. My family went through it. I'm sure Jay India also the same thing. You know, what powers us is that relatability, that vulnerability. And so this is dedicated to you. And I pray that this is a conversation that is life-changing for you. So this is not about me. This is about you. And let's dive in.
Amen. Amen. I feel like I've gone to service. Thank you.
Healing. I mean, healing is an emotional, spiritual, and physical thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of my mentors has been Jeannie Patel-Thompson, who got diagnosed when she was 16 and a half.
Oh, yeah.
In 85. And we do a few podcasts every year. And she's done so much. But a lot of times when me and her dive into healing, we always tend to move towards the emotional and spiritual. It's so intangible. It's so hard to grasp when you're new at this and you're thinking, what's my right diet? What supplements? What's the root cause? Why am I still getting spastic colon? Or why am I seeing undigested food? Or am I getting acne? And all of that's really important. But there's this deepness to healing that's really emotional and spiritual. And I know that we might not have full time to get there, but it's really important.
Yeah, I love listening to yourgut.com. I use Absorb, the whole thing. I talk about that all the time. So shout out to Jenny Patel Thompson. And we try to do everything here in mind, body, soul. And yeah. I'm a huge metaphysical person. My other podcast is on metaphysics and everything. So I'm all about those subjects. So a lot of my listeners are too. But let's start at the beginning of your journey. When did you start displaying symptoms of IBD and when were you diagnosed?
So, you know, I started getting, I mean, it was funny. I used to joke about this with my friends, but I was 12, 13, 14 years old, and I would get so bloated and so crampy, and we didn't know what it was. Like, I'd go to Chili's, the restaurant. All we ate was restaurant food, McDonald's, processed foods, and cereal. It's just, my parents didn't know
I love. But if I could have McDonald's French fries right now, I'd be done. I'd be closing this window. Bye, Dane. See ya. That's not my life.
We're going to talk about that today. That's a big conversation as we jump into, you know, these topics, but I have no cravings, none. And I ate McDonald's every day. And I worked at Papa John's Pizza for 4 years. And the way I kept my costs low, because I had to pay for my own college, was I worked at Papa John's Pizza and ate it every night for dinner, which for me was like, ching, I don't have to pay for dinner, and I got a good pizza, and I got paid, you know, but it.
And you got Crohn's and colitis.
It probably gave me. So I started getting those symptoms when I was younger, but I don't remember looking at my bowel movements at 15, 16, 17. I remember distinctly, I was in college and I was trying to get in really good shape. So I was one of these guys who was lifting weights, taking whey protein, creatine, all of these things, just really working hard to build my muscles and cut body fat. And I had cut out all my carbs and I was on a really strict diet and I was doing interval training. And I went to the bathroom. I was about 18, 19 years old and I saw a bunch of blood. And I was like, did I eat beets? I just thought it scared me. I didn't really tell anybody. And, you know, I was, 19 years old, shouldn't, but I was drinking beers. I was in college. I was just doing that college thing, the Van Wilder that people hear of, you know. It's almost like when you're a college kid, if anyone out there is dealing with this with their college kids, it almost feels like that's what you're supposed to do with life, is to poison yourself and do a bunch of dumb things. And we don't feel like we're actually.
Yeah, in the U.S. Yeah.
Especially in the U.S. I mean, I went to school in South Carolina. I grew up in Virginia. And I've been living in California for 10 or 12 years, but so I saw that, and then I wasn't sure, and then I got I saw it a few more times, a little diarrhea, cramping, and then it wasn't until I was about 22 that I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, and I'm 36 now, so 14 years ago. I was working a big job, so I had graduated college. I moved back with my dad. I was sleeping on his pull-out couch in the basement because my room had gone bye-bye when I was in college. And I was trying to get ahead on my student loans. And I was driving an hour to work, an hour there and back. I was sitting in a cubicle under fluorescent lights, eating trash food, stressed out, working 10-hour days. And I was no longer hanging with friends. I wasn't hanging at the beach. And college was easy compared to real world. And so I was under a lot of stress. And it was towards the end of the physical year, which is something I worked for Oracle Software, a reseller of Oracle Software. And I sold software to the DoD. And so I had a big boy job. And all of a sudden, I started having 12, 15 bowel movements a day. I started getting tons of blood. I was wiping. I was seeing it in the toilet. I looked like a murder scene at the toilet, and it was at work. And so it came to the point where I had to start saying something. And I went to the doctor. He diagnosed me with ulcerative colitis, and we had never heard of that. My mom didn't know what it was. All of a sudden, my dad, everyone goes, "What's that?" We started looking on Google. Now everyone started getting a little scared
and scary. Yeah, terrifying.
Yeah. And, long story short, I was given prednisone and acecol, 5-ASA, mesalamine, and it did help. And it's like, oh, thank God. But I didn't, and this is where all the listeners really resonate. I was not a doctor. I had no understanding. I just wanted it to go away because I was thinking, I'm 22 years old. My life just started. And I had, when that happened, it was actually one great thing that happened to me being diagnosed is I decided to quit my job. And I was done with corporate, and I took a one-way flight to Orange County, California, and I worked as a waiter. And I was happy again. I was in the sun. I was broke.
Yeah.
I didn't have to wear a suit and tie and wake up at 5 a.m. to sit in traffic to go to McLean and to DC. And I was just happy, and those symptoms did help. And it was a wonderful time of just trying to start a new life. And I was lucky enough that some other things started coming in my life, and I got it, started actually becoming an actor and model and started doing commercials and all this. But as I kept pushing myself in life with my fitness and everything, the symptoms got worse and worse. And so, long story short with that, it started becoming, so sorry, I don't know how that's happening. Everything is closed. Apologies.
No worries.
As things are beeping at us over here, guys. I'm sorry.
It's a spiritual thing, guys. Sometimes the spiritual things come through, and they're saying ding ding.
Like everything's on airplane mode and closed. I got aliens texting me right now. So long story short, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. The prednisone helped, then it stopped helping. The mesalamine never really helped, and then I went on 6-MP and methotrexate and Entyvio and Remicade, and I eventually, when it became life-threatening, I nearly died in 2014, December of 2014. I was stuck in the hospital for a month, and I was on TPN feeding tube. I was on 4 different antibiotics. I was on 200 milligrams of infused prednisone. I was on 3 grams of Dilaudid. I was just pressing that heroin button all day long, floating on a cloud, and ambient, and nothing was helping. I was hallucinating. My dad flew in, my sisters flew in, my mom flew in. I was having about 15 to 20 bloody bowel movements a day. The surgeon was waiting outside the room to remove my colon. And I didn't want it out. Me and Jeannie had talked about this the other day, but I knew who I was, and I wasn't going to let this define me. And I was so resilient to just doing what the doctors wanted me to do. I don't know, I had this deep resilience, and everything that was happening was telling me not to. And that is, no, I'm not telling you should do exactly what I did, and just, you got to follow your heart. You got to listen to your doctors in certain ways. But for me, I did not want to get the surgery. I kept saying no. I wasn't even conscious at this time, so my mom was saying no for me. And we were calling around every doctor I had ever worked with and talked with. So through the years, I was trying diets, I was trying natural medicine. I was getting no results. I tried SED diet. I was doing only pureed carrots. I was doing bone broth only. I did hookworm therapy. I was making my own homemade raw goat yogurt. I was, and all of a sudden when I almost lost my life, I was 122 pounds at 6'2". I usually walk around right now today about 187, 185, somewhere in there. And so I felt like natural medicine was a fraud. I felt like everything was a fraud. I was angry at God. I was angry at my family. I was angry at everything because at this point, we had spent at minimum $30,000 trying to get me some results. And I don't come from a wealthy family. So everyone was pitching in. And the doctors couldn't help me. The MDs I saw seemingly couldn't help. I flew around the country to different doctors. I wasn't getting results. And part of that was my fault looking back because I was so young and angry and I just wanted a magic pill or a magic diet. If you guys can relate, you're just looking for this magic thing to help you escape. So
can I interrupt you here? So I always like to change the verbiage around that. Not your fault. It's good you're taking, I think there's a difference between taking responsibility and looking back and saying, you know what, I take responsibility for that, but I don't blame myself.
Huge. That's actually one of the biggest points I discuss when people start in our program is fault versus responsibility.
Yeah.
And that's a really deep topic. And I don't want to, with my story, I want everyone to, know me a bit and be able to resonate a little bit, but this is really about you. So just when I'm telling my story, I just want to give you the points that you might be able to connect with. So the big things were, I didn't get any results with natural medicine for about 3 or 4 years. And I was trying. I spent over $30,000 over those, at least in the first year or two, and it wasn't going anywhere. From flying somewhere, staying in a hotel, buying all this lab work we didn't understand, not sure what to do, tons of supplements, reading on Google, going to Whole Foods, buying out Whole Foods, switching to organic. It just kept adding up. And I had a career at this point, a pretty successful career as a model and actor. So I was trying to live in Miami or New York or Germany or Paris. And it wasn't possible. And so my mom actually lost her job trying to help me out because she was coming and renting a place in Miami with me so I could stay down there to try to build this career because I was 23 years old with this whole little thing that popped. I had this new really cool thing that happened to you. It only happens at a young age. And I really wanted it. I really wanted to be able to see the world and have that. And she tried to keep that dream alive. And I think that helped me from going into a deep depression. Is I had something I really wanted to strive for. And even more so, what I was striving for required me to be extremely healthy. Like if you have good skin and you're in good shape and you have good energy and you can handle traveling the world, you got to be healthy. And so the career I was building required that. So there was that symbiotic nature. So one thing, that's a really good point for everyone out there is like find what you want and what you need and make them the same. And so I really had this desire to be very, very healthy. And I think I got off a plane, just to your point, and I had just had about 10 bloody bowel movements. I was running to the bathroom on the plane. I went there for a shoot in Ohio and came back to California. And I was so angry and so shameful because it was stuck in that bathroom. I couldn't eat. I wouldn't eat. When I traveled, I wouldn't drink water. I wouldn't eat anything, nothing. No. I mean, it was like, it was on diet. It was like if I had a sip of water, I was in the bathroom.
Yep.
So
we know.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
And I think it's really important for our conversation today because I know we're going to talk about more advanced things that I think the superpower looking forward is that I didn't just kind of have Crohn's and colitis. I had life-threatening Crohn's colitis that kept me in a prison for years. When I say Crohn's and colitis, I was first diagnosed ulcerative colitis. Then a doctor at UCLA said, nope, he said, nope, it's Crohn's 100%. Then the next doctor said, nope, it's ulcerative colitis with gastritis. And then the next guy said, nope, it's definitely Crohn's. So they didn't really know, sort of calling it Crohn's colitis. It was very bad. When I nearly passed away and they did the colonoscopy, it looked like it was a war. It was a war zone in my colon. It was so bad. And it scared me. That's when I went on the Entyvio again. Something changed in me. I got back. I was so angry about the bowel movements and the shame. I had lost control of my bowel movements maybe 100 times. One time on a date, one time tons of times in the car. I mean, shame is not a problem for me. I'm saying this on a podcast live to God knows how many people, right?
Oh, you have no idea what I've talked about sharding. You talk about, I don't give a shit here. See, no pun intended. Yeah,
but relatability.
You have to.
We got to relate with each other. So yeah, I've been through all that shame. And I think that's also what makes this a safe community and how we turn that pain into purpose. But I just went through it in every single way. And the big thing that changed as I came home and something snapped inside of me where I said to myself, I am not going to put my career, my social life, my relationship, like the girl I was working on dating who was somehow staying with me through all this shameful stuff, and all of these things ahead of my health. And then I made a decision right then and there that it was no one's responsibility to heal me except me.
Yep.
See, when I was 19 and 20 and 21, it was my mom's responsibility. Mom, figure it out. Mom, dad, write a check. Hey, doctor, figure it out. You're the doctor, not me. And that's how we all grew up, right? You're feeling bad, go to the doctor, he gives you a pill, he gives you a shot, he makes it all better. And that's the environment we were raised. But for thousands of years, people had to be able to take care of themselves through cold winters, through viruses, through bacteria infections, and they had to be self-empowered to be able to live. And we lost that. And I lost that because I was never raised around that. I was just, be a good person. You can eat your cereal, you can have your pizza, and make sure it doesn't make you overweight, right? That was the only thing we grew up with in the 90s. And in the 80s, it's like, yeah, just, make sure it doesn't make you look bad where you might get acne, you might get overweight. But I didn't think this stuff could cause an autoimmune. We didn't even know what an autoimmune disease was. So I was completely ignorant to what health truly was. And that wasn't my parents' fault. It wasn't my fault. It was just a lack of awareness. And so I thank God nowadays for the Crohn's and colitis experience, because it's turned me into the man that I love being. And I've never been more confident in myself. I've never felt more valuable. I've never felt more passionate. And it's all because of the pain I went through. And so a few keys that really helped me succeed. So it wasn't my fault, but it was for damn sure my responsibility, 100%. And that was like when I turned into a man. Right there is when I went from boy to man. And I know 40-year-old boys and I know 18-year-old men. Okay. So if you're young and you're listening to this, you are strong. You can do it now, and you can live the best life ever because of this. Better than you ever would have if you never got it. I promise you. Okay. So it was not my responsibility. Oh, I'm sorry. It was not my fault, but it was my responsibility. I decided that I was only going to eat what I cooked, because I tried vegan, I tried paleo, I tried SCD, I tried all these things. And so I said, how am I going to make sense of food? Real simple. I got clear. So my mind got clear, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to eat what I cook, and that's going to give me some intuition on how I feel with it. I started doing prayer and purpose every day. So people had told me that God had helped them heal. When I was when we go to church, he would say, hey, God will heal you. And I said, okay, all right, let's do it. Why? I have nothing to lose and everything to gain. That was a big one for me. So when I didn't know, and I didn't have experience in how to heal, and there was no Crohn's colitis coaches back then. There were a few books by Elaine Gottschall and Jordan Rubin, right? So it was I'm going to do, if it can't hurt me and it can help me, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to be accountable to it. So I went to bed at 10 o'clock. I woke up at 6 or 7. I prayed every morning and every night. I said what my prayer and purpose was. So I said a prayer, and then the purpose of my day is, and the purpose of my day has been. I journaled every day for about 7 or 8 months, what I ate, how I felt, how many bowel movements I had, what were those symptoms. So I started graphing every day, and I looked for the trends. I got happy before I got healthy. So I realized that the mind was so big that I needed to engage the vagus nerve. I needed to retrain and engage the parasympathetic nervous system. And I needed to forgive my father because I was upset at him. I needed to forgive myself. I needed to forgive the doctors. I needed to forgive everything. And I needed to get happy. And I did. I started really getting happy. There's a few pictures of me back in 2014 and 15 where I'm 130 pounds living on very limited foods, but I'm smiling. And I released all that anger and pain. And how many of you guys have gotten super stressed or super resentful, and then you had an extra 3 bowel movements that day? There's a connection. And so if like stress is only an energy, okay? Stress is an energy. It's not really tangible, right? You can't taste it, touch it, feel it. Stress is an energy. We all believe on this call that stress has made us worse. So if a negative energy can make us worse, it has to be true that a positive energy can make us better. That's the law of relativity. For one thing to exist, its opposite must exist. For black to exist, white must exist. For tall must to exist, short must exist. So, I started realizing that, forgiving and gratitude and laughter and happiness and not needing to prove things and not feeling like I'm good enough in this world, which is what probably drove me to be an actor and model in the first place. I started doing that spiritual healing. And all of a sudden I started seeing, for the first time ever, I started seeing symptom relief. And it was like 9 months straight. I was waking up and going to the bathroom 1 to 2 times every night. And within 2 or 3 days of me actually starting to pray and running my plan with all these things, I started sleeping through the night. And it was like, I'm on to something. You know what my doctor said? They said, you're not on to nothing. You can't cure this. You're trying to sideswipe it.
They always say that. Yeah.
It was the same old story we've all heard, right? but I started believing in myself. I started believing that I could shift I wasn't a victim anymore. I was starting to retrain that I could build my shield. That's why the program's called Shield.
So let's go into that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I want to go into how did you go from being angry at, natural healing and I don't want to do this, I don't want to do anything, to now you now have discovered, okay, if I eat the right foods, and I'm putting that in air quotes, the right foods, and I see a pattern. I see a pattern of I'm resting my mind, I'm resting my body. It's mind, body, soul. So how do we go from that to then developing Crohn's colitis lifestyle and the Shield program?
The reason I failed so long is because the answer is intangible and it's hard because it's not, everyone's looking outside of themselves for the answer. Listen really closely. The answer is inside of you. It's not without. What I got is I got mental clarity. I decided I was done being sick. As strange as that sounds, I got tired. I was done being a victim. So I'll tell you how my mom, I'll even bring up some of this energy. I can even feel it right now. I'm done being sick. My number one focus in life is to get my life back and get free. And I will do whatever it takes as long as it won't hurt me and can only help me. There is nothing else that matters. Making money, being social, being cool, none of it matters. I am only focused on this. Now, I was housebound for 1 year. 1 year, okay? That was all I was doing. I had people say, what are you doing? I had a full-time job. I had a whole day, and I would take notes on it and I would critique it. So what was that answer? I just woke up. As I said, I walked in, I was done. I'd suffered for a lot of years, and I decided, it was in that moment I became a man. And to me, that meant becoming completely accountable and responsible for the reality that is in my life. And I decided that I was going to work and partner with God, partner with all my friends and family, partner with my doctor in any way to get what I wanted. I was the CEO of my health. That is the answer. You have, even if it's hard and things aren't working, like mine, things didn't work. Everyone, I see all these reviews. Everyone would do the SCD diet and it would work for them. It didn't work for me. And it felt like I was the 1% who could never heal, and other people would work for others, but it wouldn't work for me. And so all of us right now listening to this, if you are more advanced, then you know that feeling because your system has been harder. Like people who heal quickly usually get off the train of self-healing pretty quickly and they go about their life. But those of us who are still learning and shifting, it's because it's been really hard. Okay, so healing starts in the mind. And then once I got that clarity, once I built my spirit up, I could start seeing it better. Like, how did I decide to start journaling? Journaling's not hard. An 8-year-old could decide to create journaling. It's not rocket science. Why wasn't I journaling for 4 years prior? Because I was too angry and resentful and I couldn't see clearly. I hadn't decided to be the answer yet. So when I decided to be the answer, a lot of things became obvious. What am I going to eat? Well, I don't know if I should eat vegan or meat, but I know I should only eat what I cook. See, that's just a spiritual clarity. That's a spiritual conviction. So a lot of the answer is within. Like a yogi is a person who creates wisdom from within. A scholar is a lot of times a person who finds intelligence from without. And I was resourceful from within. And then when my naturopath professor finally got me to meditate, which a 23-year-old guy was just, back then, it was just, I didn't know anyone who meditated. I didn't want to do it. The biggest value I saw in meditating is it helped give me clarity. Should I increase doses of that capsule? Should I take that meal out or that food out? Should I cook with a different oil? Should I stick with that probiotic? Should I continue to do A, B, C? So I needed clarity. I needed to calm my mind. And I needed to get in touch with my intuitive nature. And I needed to make decisions for myself. And that really built my superpower because I didn't have a coach. I didn't have anything. I just had other people saying this stuff worked. And then I would try it. And I was happy enough. My spirit was strong enough to try, fail, refine, try again. Month after month after month. And in doing that, I was able to finally go, no result, boom, and then stuck again. No result, boom, and then stuck again. So 1 year later, I gained 65 pounds of weight. I was off all my drugs. I got off I got off 40 milligrams of prednisone, methotrexate. I got off Entyvio. I got off Ambient. I got off painkillers. And I got off chemotherapy. They had given me chemo because I had nearly died. And it was actually a doctor in Florida who believed I had CMV virus attacking in my colon. He believed that's why I wasn't getting better from the steroids or the antibiotics because no one could figure it out. And they couldn't find the virus in my blood, of course. And we called insurance, said this kid's going to die. You got to give him a sample of this antiviral chemotherapy. And they, if you look at a picture of me in the hospital, you see a black bag that I'm walking around with. That's the chemo. And it literally snapped me out of it. Basically, like I was not coherent, snapped me out of it. And I woke. I was like asleep for 2 days. And then I woke up and I started coming back to right when they gave me the chemo. So that gave me a hint that a virus was one of those deep issues, which we can talk about today, is the viral load issue. So yeah, so all of those things. So the answer is, no matter where you are in your healing, if you've never done anything before, you've been doing this for 20 years, it has to start from within. You have to decide that you're going to create the life of your dreams, and you're not going to quit until you get it. And it's got to be a passion. Like you've got to fall in love with the energy and the spirit and the sensation of being your higher self. And that's what shifted, because when I was 23, I said, wait a minute, everything I'm learning to do is making me a better version of myself, meaning I can connect better with humans. I'm more connected to God. I'm more of myself than I've ever been before. When I was drunk, like everything stupid I ever did that I had guilt or I regretted, I was drunk or was past midnight. You know, getting in a fight, sleeping with the wrong person, getting, wasted and saying stupid things, being hungover, waking up late for an exam, or not building your life in the way you wanted. It was everything that Crohn's and colitis was asking me to do to heal was the exact same thing I needed to have to be my most profound version of myself, for my genetics to be most profound, right? Our genetics are reacting to what we're doing. And so I thought to myself, I always saw myself as a person having a beautiful life. Jeannie said this too. I asked her the same question at 16,
Who's
17.
Jeannie? Is she your wife?
No, Jeannie Patel. Jeannie,
Oh.
So I just did a call with this
Jeannie,
on video.
yeah.
But I asked her, I said the same thing to her. I said, at 16, 17 years old, what gave you that conviction to jump in? And she said she always knew who she was and who she wanted to be. And it was the same thing with me. I just imagined myself as this person who had this great life, and I was always willing to work for it, and I was always willing to say no to temptation at a younger age before Crohn's colitis. So I had to reignite it. The reason I wasn't willing to be gluten-free and I wasn't willing to do all these things and diet restrictions, because I spiritually related those things as a prison. But when I made the spiritual change, I actually started relating all the things to heal Crohn's and colitis as what it would be to be my best self and for freedom from any disease.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it profoundly, I shifted my spirit. And then once that happened, I could make all the tangible, physical, rational decisions thereafter. And I could be more consistent, because when I was sick, I could keep up with the diet for 2 or 3 weeks and then I'd quit. I was so done with it. It's a spiritual change, guys. And I remember I told you, right, when she asked me this question, it's not tangible. There's a reason it took me a long time to get here. We have to go through the emotional and the mental conditioning to redefine what health is. And here's my last little hint that can really help you feel that this is the right answer. Your great-grandmother has never tried a piece of candy or crappy pizza or McDonald's in her entire life. Was she deprived of taste? Was she deprived of a life of freedom and health? Did she not have something that you have all of a sudden in life? No, she had everything. And so what does that tell us? That means that we are just addicted to poison, and that the truth of life and the truth of the gut and the truth of Mother Earth is actually in the past. And if you want to heal, we got to start living like our great-grandparents. They cooked everything and they ate from farms.
I mean, I'm a big follower of, if I say this, have you heard of it? Ayurveda?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a big proponent of that. Yeah. And, that's how these ancient Indians were living 5,000 years ago. And we're taking these principles now, those of us who, I want to say this not egotistically, but those of us who are, let's just say, enlightened, are taking these principles and we are rediscovering them and we are redistributing them and we are now living by them. Because if you look at the Crohn's colitis lifestyle, and I looked very carefully at your program and everything, it does have a lot of Ayurvedic principles. And for me, when I pick out a functional medicine program, doctor, whatever, here are my things. It has to align with Ayurveda. It has to somewhat align with Chinese medicine, because Chinese medicine and Ayurveda often intersect and overlap.
TCM and Ayurvedic is very good. And we actually use some of those both principles. They're beautiful. They're hard to make sense of in functional medicine because there's not that much science. Like if you have a cooling energy or a heating energy and you're talking about meridian, it's hard to relate because we do predominantly integrative medicine. It's hard to relate with the science of, if I look at butyrate, I have tons of science. If I look at TUDCA and or how to open up the detox pathways and what's happening at a cellular level, we're usually using science. And those things, there's a lot of just energy and, there's not as many PubMed research articles, right? So, but we see tremendous results using them. And I actually believe that the Indian culture, from all my studies, they have the best grasp of health universally. Like yoga is the most healthy form of exercise, and Ayurvedic is extremely great. And we actually still use the threads of hope. I can't remember the Indian name of it. I don't know if you've.
I know what you mean.
For fistulas and fissures. And one of our coaches is actually Indian. So he lives in London and he actually practices Ayurvedic. So a lot of our Indian clients will only work with him, and he'll use a lot of Ayurvedic mixed with the integrative practices.
But that's what I mean. That's what I'm telling you. There's something about it. If I see a program like yours and it aligns with all of this, it vibes with me. And like you're saying with its spirit, it vibes with my spirit.
Yeah.
It vibes with my spirit. So I want to move on for the interest of time. And I want to get to some more of the advanced topics. And then I think I'm going to reverse the order and we're going to talk a little bit about the SHIELD program kind of on the back end. Sound good? Okay, cool.
Yeah, honestly, if we don't have time, let's not worry too much about the SHIELD program, because everyone out there who's going to be interested, just you can go to the website and check it out. But let's take a lot of time and just really dive into some topics and help some people.
Yeah. And also, guys, keep in mind, episode 32, I did a complete review of the SHIELD program. So you can always go back and listen to that episode. And then we're going to have all the links in the show notes and everything. So people can just go on to that. On the video, we're going to have the links. We're going to have everything. So everything will be good. Okay. So in the episode I keep talking about, episode 32, I discussed that many of the listeners have an advanced knowledge of UC, my listeners. We've researched everything, Dane. We've tried everything up, down, sideways. Many of us have healed ourselves naturally. For example, in 13 months, I brought my calprotectin level down by 95% from a life-threatening flare, and I healed my colon 80 to 90%, which was verified by colonoscopy. Thank you. All without pharmaceuticals. I do want to specify, in the very beginning, when I was in the life-threatening flare, I did do a prednisone taper for 30 days. And I did take dicycline to help for 10 days to help with the colon spasms. And my hair is growing back after a year and a half from the prednisone. I'm the person that if you're the person that gets, you take a medicine, it's like you get this like 0.0% get this side effect. That's why I don't do pharmaceuticals. I get every single side effect. So that's why I look like Pebbles from the Flintstones.
You look great.
But my hair's growing back. That's why. Yeah. So anyway, so saying all this, I felt that, I had done a decent job of healing myself. A lot of my listeners have as well, but some of us, including myself, we need to go a little further with it. You know what I mean? We need to step up. So I didn't invest in the SHIELD program right now, but I also wanted to know more of the advanced aspects of the program. So
you're in the SHIELD program?
I am not in the SHIELD program.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you invested.
I did not invest in it right now.
Okay.
So as of now, but so I want to know more for those of us who have an advanced knowledge of UC, because that's who you're speaking to. You're talking about spiritual and all of this. These are your people.
Let's black belt it. All right, guys, let's do it.
These are your self-taught healers. Thus, in saying all this, let's dive into some of these topics that we still have problems with, that you can help us with. All right. So let's start. Let's start with topic number 1. What happens if we're doing pretty well, like myself, but we're still stuck on this strict diet? Tell us about that.
Okay, strict diet, really big one. And I think I have to say a little something so people can understand why I might be able to help in these more intense situations. Me and my team see about 120 Crohn's colitis patients a week. Okay. I've worked with anywhere, like right now I'm working with a 5-year-old and the mother, both diagnosed Crohn's ulcerative colitis extreme, both on biologics. One's already off the biologics we'll talk about. I've worked with people who've had Crohn's colitis for 45 years, put after surgery, gotten massive results. One guy, Brian, he just wrote me the other day, still doing great. He was post-surgery, still having 30 bowel movements a day, and have been on Remicade, and like 3 different biologics already failed for 30 years, and we got him good. And we're dealing with a woman right now. She's 67 years old, diagnosed Crohn's, and 24 years old, 3 surgeries, also had cancer. She's doing the best she's ever done in her life. And so when we work with people, you're not just like in this program for 2 minutes or even 2 months or 3 months. I mean, we're seeing people get results even a year or 2 later, because we communicate and we all work as a team. Like we're like one big community. You're always with me and you're always with our coaches. And
that's
so
the most tempting part of the program for me.
It's really, a lot of people don't sleep on that.
Because I want to be part of that community, and it'd be so great for this podcast, just to like meet people.
I'm going to do something for your viewers. I'll send it to you when time happens. But like, I don't want to talk about the program too much. Let's get into the conversation. But I've had a lot of people over the years. So I've been a Crohn's colitis coach for 8.5 years. I've worked with thousands of people at this point. So I'm on the battlefield, guys. I'm not just in my Ivy Tower talking. I spend 12 hours a day talking with people. I usually see 8 people a day. And when there's an ER case, they come to me. And so sometimes I'm like, all right, I'm going to learn, because no one knows how to do this. And I'm just going to learn with this client. And that's the thing. Like I just had to learn with a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old. And I had to learn with someone who's already tried every diet and still getting spastic colon and diarrhea. And we have one guy right now, we're having a hard time figuring out. He's so bad. I mean, it's like I'm constantly sharpening my sword. And even our team, we only deal with Crohn's colitis. We only see it, and we see thousands of people, and we have Crohn's colitis ourselves. And I built this community. I built this system because I needed this. And when I finally started getting results, I had thought the same thing you guys are thinking now, like, how am I going to keep this up? And where can I relate with others? And where can I see what other people are doing? And every private Facebook group I went to, everyone was arguing and screaming, and there's just negativity. And I just needed to focus on solutions. We built CC Connect. You can talk with anyone in the program. You can talk with someone to do testimony. We put out a testimony a week. It's crazy. I never thought we'd be able to do that, but we are, because we work on results in a huge way. But strict diet, you're stuck in a strict diet. The biggest thing that people are missing is a lot of times we think we have food allergies. We don't. We're actually intolerant of the food. Intolerance is a lack of ability to break it down. So imagine if you hurt your knee. If you hurt your knee, you do need to move it again, and you need to start putting some resistance against it to be able to do physical therapy to get the knee better. But if you go for a run on pavement, you're going to re-injure the knee, and it's going to get worse. That's the same thing of trying to reintroduce healthy earth food into a gut that isn't ready yet. You have to start slow, and you have to do physical therapy on the gut. If you go too hard, you'll injure it. If you go at the right level, it'll get better and better and better. For instance, I couldn't have a sip of water. I now, sometimes for breakfast, I'll have something so anti-SAD. I'll have sprouted rolled oats with sprouted pistachios, pecans, and pumpkin seeds with sprouted almond butter, and some sprouted flax and chia, like a massive dose of potential lectins and fiber and polysaccharides.
I can't go near nuts, so that's really interesting.
Exactly. I couldn't either. I was paleo. I was AIP paleo for like 3-4 years. You see, the thing about our program is we're not sitting still. That's what's so exciting. We're a 100-mile-per-hour bullet train moving forward. We just started doing this parasite cleanse, life changer. We started doing this ozone therapy. Amazing. We have so many protocols, so many things that all of our team are trying and reporting back. It's crazy. And we're constantly finding deeper root issues that we're looking at in different lab tests that might be able to give it. And it's like, we might be stuck for 2 years. I've been doing this work. Our company's 8 years old. We might be stuck for 2 years on something, but then we're just continuing, and it goes, aha, boom. Like one of my clients, in the last 2 weeks, she's pooped out 100 feet of worms, and she's had Crohn's colitis for 25 years, and no one's diagnosed her with parasites and worms. And she tested negative for them on the lab work because the quantitative PCR stool analysis can't see past the biofilms.
I'm not surprised. I have to say, I'm not surprised. I do bioenergetic.
Indian culture, they're so big on the parasites, where they're purging or using castor oil or ghee butter to get rid of the parasites once a month. Well, they'll actually make themselves go to the bathroom so often to get rid of the parasites. And it's so funny. One of my other clients, he's worked on a farm for 20 years. He deworms and deparasites his animals, like ivermectin on his horses, but he never done it on himself. And he's had Crohn's for 30 some odd years with 2 surgeries. And we started doing it, boom, he's pooping out tons of worms. So there's a lot of stuff that we go, oh my God, look at this big thing we missed, or the virus. So when you're stuck on a diet, here's the thing. It's like being able to run on a bad knee again. Let's say that let's use the metaphor of you have Crohn's colitis like a torn ACL. You've got to do physical therapy on it, and then you've got to slowly start introducing and testing. So a lot of us can't do polysaccharides, a lot of us can't do grains, and a lot of us can't have celebration meals. One of the things that was messing with me emotionally as I was healing is I didn't want to cheat. Because if I cheat, I was hurting myself. So number one, you are no longer allowed to cheat on your diet, and you don't no longer have a diet. You have a lifestyle, not a diet, that makes you happy and healthy at the same time, and you never cheat, you only celebrate. And our culture, from the beginning of time, when we celebrate, we'll have alcohol or smoke or something, whatever people do. So for all cultures, will willingly poison themselves in celebration, right? It's a wedding, there's time to drink, right? So it's we have to realize that we want to celebrate, and we're going to do something that could hurt us. We want to celebrate, and the goal is to have a neutral response. If you just try to always have a positive response on your body every single day, you're going to be emotionally trapped and you're going to be traumatized, and it's just going to mess with your ability to feel like you're living. And that might be how you're feeling right now. And so I want you to celebrate. I want you to eliminate a diet and only build a lifestyle that makes you happy and healthy at the same time. So rule number one, what I want you to do is write down foods that you already feel comfortable with. And I want you to write down another list of foods that you feel like should be healthy for a human, but you don't feel comfortable eating them yet. And then I want you to list your last group of foods that you think are causing an inflammatory response and are actually hazardous to a person. Okay, that you just think this is not good for me. Pizza is in the red, right? But the question mark foods are the ones we want to start adding in first. So you take the question mark foods and you prepare. So before you have it, what I do is a lot of times I'll cherry pick from a lot of theories out there. So I'm sure you've heard of German New Medicine, right? German New Medicine will say that it's all in your head and it's trauma. And there's a lot of people saying that, oh my God, I actually was able to eat all these foods once I got rid of the trauma. So I just cherry pick, like the whole program, I just cherry pick one little thing I like from it because I'm not judging the whole thing if I don't agree. If I disagree with 80% and I think 20% might be valuable, I take the 20% and I infuse it into our program. So what I want you to do is I want you to meditate for 5 or 10 minutes before you eat the food and 5 or 10 minutes after you eat the food. And I want you to start with just a light dose. Like one girl I'm working with since she's 11 years old, she's been SED and her family feels like it's just not working anymore. She's 15 years old. So we're doing this right now. We're doing it with kanji. We're doing it with kanji because it's so bioavailable and it reduces inflammatory response. It's so broken down, but it's not SED friendly. So it's her first food she's had since she even remembers in life that's not SED friendly. So 5 to 10 minutes before we eat it and 5 to 10 minutes after, we meditate. And what we meditate on is releasing the trauma that this is somehow bad for my body, or it's going to hurt me, or it's going to cause an inflammatory response. And you even might want to say an affirmation. An affirmation could be something like, I release any worry, doubt, fear, or anxiety around this food, and I now will this food to nourish my body. You might have to say that 3 or 4 times in 3 to 4 different ways. And I release any type of doubt, any type of fear from this food. And this food is made by the earth, and it is divinely good for my body, and my body will accept it when it's ready. And I'm ready to test that now. And it's no longer, the food is no longer good or bad. It's just a measurement of success. So we start changing our words, we change our language, we release the trauma, and we just ask ourselves, I'm going to try this broccoli, and this broccoli gives me gas, cramping, bloating. I see it undigested. I'm going to try these carrots. I'm going to try this corn. I'm going to try a salad. How many of you would love a salad again, right? And I'm going to meditate around it. I'm going to get in a parasympathetic state. You know if you're parasympathetic because you're salivating. So if you salivate, that means that your rest and digest is up. That means your natural digestive enzymes are up. I'm going to meditate for a second. I'm going to release that trauma. I'm going to eat it. I'm going to chew it 30 times. I'm going to swallow, and then I'm going to relax. Put on some Bob Marley and do a little bit more meditation or breath work after to allow it. Because every time, for the next 10 minutes, you're going to be in a state of panic, wondering if you just put a grenade into your gut. Okay? And so it also has to make sense. Are you asking yourself and saying, Dane, I really want to eat a muffin again and bagel? Well, that's not an actual food from the earth. So if it's a food from the earth, let's start there. Let's start with certain types of vegetables and polysaccharides, and let's start with certain types of foods that just God has made, right? So and then once you want to start celebrating and saying, now I want to have something that we all know is not good for me, Then you can start saying, well, I trust that I am healthy enough to handle this stress, because food is a stress, just like working really hard or not getting enough sleep. Okay, to handle this stress. But I think a few other things I want to touch on, beyond that movement on what kind of food you have, is how do you further prepare your food to add more food, add more stuff. So we need to optimize digestion. Okay, so this is where I might want to do a genetic stool test and see where your elastase 1 is, like how many pancreatic enzymes are you having are in there? Are you seeing undigested food? Are you still getting a lot of bloating, cramping, and gas? Have you worked on your detox pathways? So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure you're as ready as possible, and then we're going to say, okay, we think we've done it. So I want your detox pathways open. I want to make sure that you can handle certain fibers, because fiber is a big problem with plant food for all my AIP paleo meat eaters. So I love to start with something like acacia fiber. Acacia fiber is a really, really delicate soluble fiber that acts as a prebiotic, and it's really good for gas and bloating. It's one of the first fibers I might try. If I'm working with someone who wants to increase density of plant food, then I might even try some sprouted and grounded flax and or chia seed, which are really high in lectins. You got to watch out for certain things. They can mess with you and have anti-nutrients. So that might cause some people some problems. So I might even try a touch. The benefit is I'm trying a supplement that I can micromanage over a food. Now, another thing I'm going to do with these certain types of fibers, for instance, fibers tends to be a lot of problems for people with IBD. No seeds, no skins. If you can't squish it, don't eat it. Okay? Repeat. No seeds, no skins. If you can't squish it, don't eat it. So we have to eliminate this idea of a diet by getting you to a point where you understand food philosophy. I created something called food philosophy to help me eliminate a diet and be able to assess the risk of any food at any given time. So I can just look at it and go, okay, like that broccoli. If the broccoli hasn't been skinned, I'm probably going to get more gas, more bloating, and more undigested broccoli in my stool because of that insoluble skin. Apple, same thing. If I peel the apple, I might do better than if I just eat the apple with the skin. If I want to have a bell pepper, I need to heat it up, remove the skin, and get rid of the seeds before I have it. Very high in vitamin A and vitamin C, but tons of lectins. Okay, so now I got this when I interviewed Dr. Gundry, because Dr. Gundry wrote The Plant Paradox, and he's really big on getting rid of lectins. It's the same thing. You can cherry pick from philosophies. I saw that he had a good philosophy of around a lot of polysaccharides and a lot of plant food that me with IBD would have a problem with. So I took a lot of his theories and said, let me reintroduce the polysaccharides around his theories. So I started with low lectin grains. I only pressure cooked. I made sure they were sprouted, which reduces the anti-nutrients. And then I did the meditations before and after, and I made sure I chewed. And voila, I didn't have oatmeal for 7 years. Now I can have oatmeal, and it actually made my pancreatic enzymes went up in my lab work. My digestion got better. So that was like the next level of physical therapy. Let's go back to the knee metaphor. At a certain point, you got to get on the court. You can only sit there with your machine doing this so long before you got to start jogging again, or you got to start pivoting on your knee. So I felt prepared, and I got on and I tried a little bit. And the first few times I tried some of these foods that were not AIP or paleo, I got undigested food, bloating, cramping, gas. And that caused a little bit of trauma. But once my spirit was right and I had a good strategy, I was able to slowly introduce and continue to add in. And a lot of my clients, I've seen that they can add in much quicker. Meaning I've gotten some polysaccharides and dense foods within 6 weeks of someone starting.
Can I add something? Because I think you're making a lot of sense, and I love what you're saying. I have noticed with myself that once you start clearing out, like you were saying with the parasites and all that kind of stuff, once you start clearing that out and you start adding foods back in and you start feeling better, you become such a good intuitive eater.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened to me is I can wake up now and be like, no, I want this, not that. And listen, Dane, I used to be the person who, if you put down McDonald's in front of me, or you put down a salad that Buddha made himself, and it was blessed by the Dalai Lama, and that was there, and then the McDonald's, I would take the McDonald's every day. And now I'm tipping. Oh, of course. And then I was tipping, and then I was, and now, I have to say I've been eating salads a lot. And I've been, and that's, for me, that's a big deal. And the fact that I can, a year and a half ago, you know how it is. I don't have to tell you, to have raw vegetables introduced into the diet again is a huge effing deal.
It is. Be careful with those raw vegetables, because I've had so many raw vegans get diagnosed with ulcerative colitis or Crohn's after becoming raw vegan, because there's a huge problem with bacterial load. If you have naturally low
I'm not a
acid,
vegan, my friends. I own a
Okay.
cow farm. I'm not a
Okay.
vegan. I'm far from it.
Look, I just want to say, I mean, I think there's a lot of paradigm. Like every single time I've sat down, I think one thing that's really helped me to grow in the healing of IBD is I've been so open-minded and I haven't got caught up in the politics of diets. You know, even 3 years ago, you have vegans screaming at carnivore and carnivore screaming at vegans, and we're all vegans shouting, and everyone and then fruitarians shouting from the mountaintop, and David Klein shouting from the mountaintop. It's the same. We have the same problem in politics with the food. Everyone needs to calm down, listen, and cherry pick. That was the thing I did. I just said, I tried this, I tried that, none of it worked. Blue state, red state, none of it worked. I'm going to cherry pick certain things. When I got massive results, I was doing a vegan shake that I learned from the fruitarian that David Klein had read his book and talked to David and said, okay, I did hit. And then I had a AIP lunch, and then I had a low FODMAP dinner, and I was getting the best results of my life.
Yeah.
And it was like, and I said, wait a minute, here's a big mistake. You do not have to try the diet for 2 weeks to see if it works, like everyone's saying. You can do a certain type of diet, and then within 2 hours if you're feeling good or bad on it, right? As you said, the intuitive nature. I can eat something, and within an hour, 30 minutes, I already intuitively know how I'm going to do with that. So I can do a different breakfast, different lunch, different dinner, and that's some of the ways we get such fast results with people. Because we'll add in different types of theories when someone comes in the Shield program, and we'll just watch. And we'll go, and they'll go, oh my God, I freaked out. I go, no worries. Delete, exit, switch, go, enter. Oh my God, I'm so much better. We see that all the time. That's one of the reasons we get such an impact, because we're so flexible. There's no diet we have to do. We don't even do diets.
Absolutely. And a thread that I've noticed is you keep it positive.
Yes.
It's not like, oh my God. You're just like, okay, let's move on to the next thing.
And,
let's explore.
I think a lot, when I was, seeing a lot of naturopath professors and practitioners, I think a lot of people got, overwhelmed by another theory outside of theirs. And they weren't able to intertwine it. I've had members, like some of the stuff we've learned that works has been from clients, but they said, oh, have you heard of this? Have you done that? And we looked at it and we go, wow, that was something really cool. And we'll add it in. So it's completely
and that's the thing is, I feel that the best healers, and this is from metaphysical, are willing to listen to their clients, to their patients. They learn from them. They are always learning. They're never saying, I'm above you. I know more. I know everything. We're always have an open mind. And there's always that judo principle, if you're aware of it, that in judo, they actually very much admire the beginner. Because when you get to an advanced level of judo, you can kind of predict the moves people are going to make. And they say, throw in a beginner, because you can't predict what this person's going to do. So I really applaud the fact that you're open-minded to listen to clients, to learn along with clients. I think that's a great thing.
Well, we're just not willing not to get results. Like, I'm not out there trying to market it. If you look at what I put on the internet, I just post testimonies. Because I didn't want to get in the whole argument of what's the perfect diet and what's the perfect supplement. And I let the results talk, honestly. And I'm starting to do more as I get more time, but we've been so busy trying to heal people. I don't have time to do a lot of different stuff. And I'm just trying to make sure that we're just in integrity. Integrity is very important to me, because I just spent a lot of money and waste a lot of time, and I've been in the shoes and I know that pain, and it's a passion almost to my own demise. If there's one thing that's actually, I have to say and be vulnerable, it's like, I almost hurt my own health trying to help so many. And so I'm doing EFT tapping and also seeing my own personal coach on that to really start releasing. And just because I just care, I really do care. And it's always morals over money with me. It's never money over morals. And I think a lot of capitalism is money over morals. And I just don't think that we can build businesses or build a beautiful world with it. We have to keep morals at a higher standard of value than money. So I think just to cap it up with the restrictive diet, you've got to start seeing it as a measurement of success. You've got to start slow, get your mindset, get your emotions in the right place, make sure you're in the parasympathetic state, make sure your digestive enzymes are naturally working. Try to start with earth food, then go up to the foods that are more, celebrations. Don't cheat anymore, only have a celebration. Make sure that you've done some lab work or optimized your natural digestion, that your leaky gut's gone, that you've started working on your microbiome, that your inflammation is low, and then you can even start on like fermented foods. Like if you want to eat more types of vegetables, try them fermented first. That's a great way. Like with my probiotic, I'll even do a dairy-based probiotic because I love to have a little cheese every once in a while and make sure my body's used to having a good A1 casein-free, gas-fed, gas-finished cow, right? And my body can handle that because my goal is, because I think if a person is truly healthy, if we step back from this whole conversation, we say, how do we define if a person's healthy or not? It's their ability to resist stress. Like if you can't handle a lot of food, is your gut really healthy? A person says, well, I'm in remission of Crohn's colitis and I eat 9 different foods and I'm very specific. Okay. Is you eating those 9 foods because you want to, or because you can't eat the rest of the foods? If you can't handle it, if there's an intolerance there, I think that's a lack of health.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I'm so happy that you were able to speak to the advanced listeners today and enlighten us. And listen, we could sit here and speak for the next 8 hours, but we only have a couple more minutes because I swear, Dane, I'm not lying. My husband is about to come in with 250 bales of hay, which doesn't sound noisy, but the dogs start barking and everything starts going. So he's coming in soon, going to be driving into the property. And so I just want to say a couple things just to close this out and have Dane make a couple last comments. We didn't go over the Shield program, but again, that's in episode 32. But I do want to say something, and I would like Dane to comment on this very quickly. For the Shield program, your company pays, this is what I was told, your company pays for the initial supplements in the program, which includes up to $350 US. And here's a big thing I want to talk about. Lab work is not necessarily required. And the reason I want to say that is because if you only have the money for the program, then you shouldn't be deterred. Because what I said last time is save up $5,000 in case they want all the lab work and stuff. But you can actually go in and go in with the $2,500 if you sign up in a certain amount of days. Is that correct?
Well, okay, so I'll go over a few things that make it unique. And yes, the one, you get $350 no matter what. It's not up to. You get $350. So we basically pay for it. Our goal is to get closer and closer to a one-time payment and you're done. And we have everything we think we need to get you massive success. One of the things with a lower cost program is we're putting more on our shoulders and more stress on us without any actual resources. We need certain. So when you come in, we're going to pay for the original amount of supplements. $350 we're going to pay. So if we recommend something to you, we're going to give it to you. Another thing with money is it's all about integrity. If you come in the Shield program, we're very excited to have you. If there's another program, then absolutely, that's totally fine. They're brothers in arms. Is make sure you have trust and integrity with whoever you work with. That is the number one most important thing. Do you feel like you can trust these people, and do you feel like they have integrity to do you right? Because there's only so much you can know before you cross the line and write a check, right? So that's in there. The lab work. We have, I would say, only about 40% of our members are doing the lab work because we're getting results without it. Now, do we want you to do lab work? Yes, because it gives us more stuff to work with you. So another thing is because we're a licensed company, we're a licensed medicine. No one else has the lab work in the world. We're the only Crohn's colitis global telemedicine company that can even do lab work. Meaning I did my blood analysis, my urine analysis and stool analysis of my client in Dubai, of my client in New Zealand, Australia. We can do them all around the world. We're the only ones in the world who have that. I worked very hard to build that system. Secondly, I make $0.00 on lab work ever in the last 8 years. I have no interest on getting some other type of income off of the labs. I already know they're expensive. So if you get them at the practitioner price. I make $0. I have zero incentive for you to get labs. The only thing is if I get a quantitative PCR genetic stool test, it might give me an idea what's going on. If I get an organic acid test, I might get a little bit of idea if there's Aspergillus mold or underlying yeast or candida, or if you have a mitochondria dysfunction, or if you're having oxalate issues, or if you have certain vitamin deficiencies, or you're not breaking down fats very well, even though it looks like you are in your stool test. So it's up to you. It's all about integrity for me. You can do what you want. It's a one-time payment and you're a member for life. Now, the thing with the price is I think a lot of people around the world have seen the integrity, and we're not a scalable company. If anyone knows anything about building a company, building a business, everyone gets a private coach. I just think like the growth of the company is because of the results. You know, I never raised money. I bootstrapped this whole thing, and we've had thousands of members. And I think it's just people talking to people and word of mouth. And we haven't really done much advertising either, like really little. Up until last year, we were spending like $300 a month on advertising. So, you know, and we're doing as much as we can with integrity and trying to come out the right way. So just know this, everything I've done to build this company are things I would have bought myself. I said, would I buy this and would have got the job done for me? If it's not yes and yes, I'm not doing it, and I'm not selling it at that price because I don't care. I want to go to bed and be happy and live a great life, and I want to help people. And if it's not good energy, I don't want to keep your money. That's just how I roll. Okay. So, it's now the 2,500, we haven't been able to keep that price at the 2,500 because the last 2 months, we had over 80 people join and we only have 3 or 4 full-time coaches. My team has been working 6 days a week and burning out. And I had to raise the price a bit because and the results we're getting is up. And we keep asking our members, are you happy you joined? Was it worth it? Could you do more? Our goal is to move the Shield program to 5K. And I know that it's expensive. And I know a lot of people in our program couldn't afford that. We're not going to do it now. We are moving there. Okay. But as we move there, that's what I promise you, I will never increase the price to that unless I feel it's absolutely of integrity and it's absolutely worth it. And you're not getting more than what that's worth. I think the program right now is easily worth 5K because the results we get with the private coaching, you get a private coach for 3 months. You get also a support specialist who's there for you too, kind of like a concierge thing. You have an assistant to help you with any type of orders, anything going on. You get 15 to 25% off the best supplements in the world. I promise you, I'm a supplement expert. I know a ton about them, and I've researched with the biggest companies in the world, and I've worked for some of the biggest companies in the world, and I've consulted some of the biggest doctors in the world. We have the best supplements in the world. Every single supplement is family owned, certificate of analysis. I know it works. I've tried it on thousands of Crohn's colitis, and you get 15 to 25% off what it costs on Amazon.com for the rest of your life. Not just now, not a month, forever. The reason I do that is because I know that I don't really need the margins, and I know that I've worked deals with the companies to give me VIP margins because we move so much, and I just give the discounts to our members. So I've struck amazing deals because we move so much product. And so I give, like, for instance, with Designs for Health, if you're in the United States, you're going to get 25% off, 35% off Amazon.com for life and free shipping. For you, your family, I don't care if you're in Tennessee, Alabama, whenever you want, 2 years from now, it doesn't matter. I've worked that deal out for you and you get that. That's part of the program.
All right. So that sounds amazing. And what you can do is on Instagram, you can check them out at Crohn's Colitis Lifestyle and then go on to Crohn's Colitis lifestyle.com. Again, when you see it on video, I'm going to have everything up. If you're listening, I'm going to have all the links in the show notes so they can easily go. I do want to say one quick thing that we cannot elaborate on. Unfortunately, I would love to have Dane back on to discuss this. I have parents write to me who say, I don't know what to do. And then I say to them, well, I'm not a health coach, so I don't know what to do either, but here, try this or do something like this. And now I know where to send them. So if you are listening and you have a child that you are struggling, with Crohn's colitis and you would like natural healing for them, please go to Crohn'sColitisLifestyle.com. Listen to this episode. I'm going to ask Dane to come back on again to talk about parenting and children, and hopefully he'll come back on. And other than that, I just want to say in my household, when we have the perfect poo, that perfect shit that just slides out of our body and it's brown and it's perfectly formed and there's no blood, we call it a green heart. So I always wish everyone a green heart day. So Dane, what do you wish everyone?
A green heart day.
Dane, thank you so much. This has been so enlightening. You're awesome. Thank you for being a UC warrior. Thank you for being a light worker. And thank you for being an inspiration.
Thank you so much. If we have 6 seconds, let me say one thing. And for everyone out there listening, I know times are tough if you're in here. Mention that you came from this podcast, and I will, if you want to join the Shield program, I'm going to give you a $500 discount on the Shield program just for listening this long and being here, because that means that you've been through it and you care. And that's the kind of client we want to work with, is someone who has good energy. And so much as possible, we'll talk about kids later. Just say, Jay India sent me, and we'll do
Yeah,
it
there
for
you
you.
go.
And you get a free, and just go, if you go to Crohn'sColitisLifestyle.com, schedule a free session. It's 45 to an hour long. It's free. The person has Crohn's colitis you're going to talk to. They're a specialist.
And it's great.
Yeah.
My
It's great.
discovery call was great. I had Becky, just so you know.
Becky's amazing. She was supposed to get her colon removed last year. She's in complete remission today, and she's 32 years old. She's like 15 years. Yeah, so you'll be taken care of, and have a lovely day. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you so much, Dane.